Consider this. Will BRICS Plus dethrone the US dollar? Given the recent expansion of the BRICS countries to include 5 new members, will the US dollar remain the world's reserve currency? The dominance of the US dollar in the global financial system has been a central pillar of international economics since the mid-20th century. However, recent geopolitical shifts and economic strategies by major global players such as India, Russia, China, and Iran indicate a concerted effort to reduce dependency on the dollar. The BRICS Summit 2024 in Kazan, Russia, is poised to be a significant event where these strategies might be solidified and announced. This analysis delves into the historical context, current dynamics, and future implications of this potential paradigm shift. The US dollar became the world's primary reserve currency post-World War II, solidified by the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944. The agreement established fixed exchange rates with the dollar pegged to gold, making it the backbone of international finance. Despite the collapse of the Bretton Woods system in 1971, the dollar maintained its dominance due to the size and strength of the US economy, deep and liquid financial markets, and geopolitical influence. Attempts to challenge dollar hegemony have been sporadic. The euro, launched in 1999, aimed to provide an alternative but faced structural and political hurdles. More recently, nations affected by US sanctions, like Russia and Iran, have sought ways to bypass the dollar in their international transactions. The formation of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, in 2009 marked a significant step toward creating a multipolar world. These countries represent over 40% of the global population and a significant share of global GDP, making them influential players in the global economy. Over the years, BRICS has evolved from a loose economic grouping to a more structured coalition, with annual summits and initiatives aimed at fostering economic cooperation and development. The push for de-dollarization among BRICS nations is driven by several factors. 1. Economic motivations. Diversification of reserves. Countries seek to diversify their foreign exchange reserves to mitigate risks associated with dollar volatility and US monetary policy changes. Reducing transaction costs. Conducting trade in local currencies can reduce transaction costs and exchange rate risks. 2. Political tensions and alliances. US sanctions. Russia and Iran have faced extensive US sanctions, prompting them to seek alternatives to the dollar to protect their economies. Geopolitical rivalry. The strategic rivalry between the US and China has intensified, leading China to promote the yuan as an alternative reserve currency. 3. Sanctions and their impact. Russia. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 and subsequent sanctions have spurred Russia to develop mechanisms to bypass the dollar, including increasing trade with China and using local currencies. Iran. Sanctions over its nuclear program have severely restricted Iran's access to the global financial system, prompting it to explore alternative trade arrangements. The BRICS nations have been, increasingly vocal about their intention to reduce reliance on the dollar. Key elements of their strategy include, firstly, statements from leaders and aides. Russian officials, including President Vladimir Putin, have emphasized the need for a more balanced global financial system, and Chinese leaders have consistently promoted the internationalization of the yuan. Next, let's talk about proposed financial instruments and mechanisms. There's the BRICS payment system, a proposed payment system to facilitate trade in local currencies and reduce dependence on Western financial networks like SWIFT. Also, discussions around the development of a BRICS reserve currency, which would be based on a basket of BRICS currencies, are underway. And finally, the role of digital currencies. China has made significant progress in developing and piloting its digital currency, the digital yuan, which could play a crucial role in reducing dollar dependence. Other BRICS nations are also exploring the use of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies to facilitate cross-border transactions. Country-specific perspectives. Each BRICS nation has unique motivations and strategies regarding de-dollarization. Russia economic resilience. Russia has increased its gold reserves and reduced its holdings of US treasuries. It has also promoted the use of the ruble in trade with neighboring countries. Strategic objectives. Russia aims to weaken US influence and enhance its own geopolitical standing by promoting a multipolar financial system. China, global economic ambitions. China's Belt and Road Initiative seeks to expand its economic influence globally, with the yuan playing a central role. Yuan internationalization. China has been pushing for the inclusion of the yuan in global reserves and trade, establishing currency swap agreements with multiple countries. India balancing growth and strategic autonomy. India seeks to reduce its dependency on the dollar to protect its economy from external shocks and enhance its strategic autonomy. Regional trade agreements. India is exploring local currency trade agreements with its neighbors and other BRICS nations. Iran navigating sanctions. Iran has been forced to find alternatives to the dollar due to extensive sanctions. It has increased trade with Russia and China using local currencies and barter arrangements. Fostering regional alliances. Iran seeks to strengthen economic ties with countries willing to bypass the dollar, including Turkey and Qatar. Potential impact on global economy. The efforts to reduce dollar dependence by BRICS nations could have significant implications for the global economy. Short-term and long-term effects on the US dollar. Short-term. A shift away from the dollar could lead to increased volatility in currency markets and a potential depreciation of the dollar. Long-term, sustained efforts to de-dollarize could reduce the dollar's share of global reserves, impacting the US's ability to finance its deficits and maintain its economic influence. Changes in global trade patterns. Increased use of local currencies in trade could reduce transaction costs and exchange rate risks for BRICS nations. Emerging markets might follow suit, leading to a more diversified global trade environment. Implications for emerging markets and developing countries. Reduced dependency on the dollar could provide emerging markets with greater financial stability and autonomy. However, the transition could be challenging, requiring significant adjustments to financial systems and trade practices. Challenges and criticisms. Despite the potential benefits, the strategy to end dollar dominance faces several challenges. Feasibility of de-dollarization. The US dollar remains deeply entrenched in the global financial system, and a complete shift away from it is unlikely in the short term. The liquidity and stability of alternative currencies need to be established to gain global acceptance. Internal challenges within BRICS nations. Economic disparities and political differences among BRICS countries could hinder coordinated efforts. Structural issues within individual economies, such as inflation and currency volatility, need to be addressed. External pressures and responses from Western powers. The US and its allies may respond with economic and political measures to counteract de-dollarization efforts. The stability of the global financial system could be at risk if the transition is not managed carefully. Conclusion. The BRICS Summit. 2024 in Kazan, Russia, represents a pivotal moment in the ongoing efforts by India, Russia, China, and Iran to reduce the dominance of the US dollar in the global financial system. While the path to de-dollarization is fraught with challenges, The potential benefits for these nations in terms of economic stability and strategic autonomy are significant. The coming years will be critical in determining the success of these efforts and their impact on the global economy.